Well, hello there, Justin.
Hey, I saw you in less grainy this week when you were live and in person with me in Vegas. I don't know. I know you're. Where are you now?
I am in a secret location right now. I'm actually about
Okay.
to surprise someone who's near and dear to my heart. So I'm not going to divulge it just yet because he is currently finishing work and getting ready to do something with his kids. I'm going to
Yeah.
surprise
I
him
hate. I hate to
later
break it to
today.
you. He doesn't watch this.
No, no, he doesn't. He does not. I promise.
I'm like, he's not. He's never gonna find that this exists. But that's okay. Keep it
He gets my
secret.
Instagram messages once a month, and that's about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it secret. But yeah. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday, Justin. We are here March 13th, episode 78 of the Multifamily
Episode
Weekend Update.
72. Yes, and March 13th is actually, and I think appropriately after a week of all these conferences, it's actually World Sleep Day, um, and which is
Well, that
a
feels great.
reminder. Yeah, yeah. So get some sleep this weekend or today, later today, and actually all the time. So if you're traveling, or if you have budgets due, or if you have quotas to hit, or whatever, people want to work harder, bust their, ass around the clock, all that stuff. But it does actually affect your work if you're not getting the amount of sleep you need. So you may think you're actually, being really motivated and productive, but you actually could be harming your body and then also harming the way that you work. So just something for people to think
My
about.
my secret thing about conventions for me, even though I'm aware, is that I often get better sleep because I have consistent sleep for at least 6 hours, as
Yeah,
opposed to waking up to
yeah.
take care of my son or
Well,
get my get
yeah,
my daughter to
that
school.
that comes with the where your children are in age. I now have a mostly like hibernating creature called a high schooler, so we get plenty of sleep around the
Well,
clock.
yeah,
So
we are well rested. We are well rested. Yes.
all right. So before we dig into some of these conferences, what's some of the breaking news that we need to touch on?
Yeah, the thing I was supposed to, HUD has or the HUD bill. I'm blanking already. Let me pull up my notes here. But
Pull up your
the
notes.
I'll pull up my notes here. The Road
You
to
need more
Housing
sleep.
Act.
You need more sleep.
There we go. The Road to Housing Act. It's actually and
Hmm.
now they're moving forward swiftly. They're taking comment on it still. We talked about this about a week or two ago. It has a lot of bipartisan support, as we've talked about before. But we're at the point where this is passing through all the gates that it needs to pass through. There's one or two potential issues being brought about by a lot of renter advocacy groups and some landlord advocacy groups. So we'll see. But a lot of this essentially comes down to the build to rent, and there's some big deals there. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely huge news. I mean, a lot of news, things happening outside of all the conferences. We'll touch on some of that towards the end, but it was basically just a ton of cons specifically. uh, we had TechCon, we had EDCON, we had REDCON, and we had lots of photos and posts and insights and takeaways and quotes and things and praise and complaining about it and all that stuff in between. So have you ever been to any besides RETCON? Have you been to TechCon or EDCON before?
no, I have not. I've been to medical industry conventions. That's the world I came from prior to real estate. Which
Okay.
they're which
Well,
which they're very educational. You can get continuing education credits there, but vastly
right.
different than what we do here in real estate. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And these also you can get continuing education credits for those that are working on, depending on who's hosting it and where that's coming from, which association. But TechCon in Denver is one that I've been to. I actually really have always enjoyed that one specifically and how it's laid out. I've never been to EdCon up in Washington, but I definitely know lots of folks that have. And it's a huge conference because even though people are traveling all over the Pacific Northwest to come because that's sort of where people go. So yeah, but we're going to talk not about EDCON, not about TECHCON. What are we going to talk about?
Yeah, well, there's a big convention that we went to this past week. It was our second time going to RETCON, which was in Las Vegas at the MGM. But we oftentimes will interview folks who are there for their, X certain amount of times, or the newcomers. And we love talking with newcomers, like our guest coming in shortly, because they come with a fresh set of eyes and can offer us some great perspective. So let's bring on our guest, featured guest.
Let's do it.
Wow, guys, what an intro.
Hey, yeah.
There
Hey,
is.
Mike, good to see you.
Good to see you both.
Yeah. Well, you're not a novice to conferences by any stretch, but this was your first one. And I know we talked to a few folks just off the bat, going in, what were you hoping for, or what were you kind of looking forward to?
Yeah, this was my first RETCON. I was not part of the opening, but I've been to Denver's TechCon 4 times. I think they do a great job of bringing tech to Denver, attracting senior leader executives too, and like a market focus. But for me, we had actually budgeted a pretty big dollar amount for RETCON this year, and I was pretty unprepared to make a big commitment to a new conference, and so we ended up doing a little bit of a let's take a bet and send a couple people to be feet on the street. And so that was like our angle this week is, we sent a couple senior leaders, a couple senior sellers. And so I really wanted to walk away with, is this show differentiated? What is the commercial value for our business? What's the value of content? Would this be worth us, spending or pitching to get on stage? So this was really like an assessment for me, which is why I took the approach of giving an actual recap versus thank you, because this one was new for me.
Very good.
Awesome. I'd love to dive down into the numbers maybe later, but right off the bat, one of the things that you talked about in your post was the fact that even though the fatigue is real for Vegas, right? I think you went to Vegas 8 times last year, maybe more, Mike?
9 times.
9 times. There you go. I'm off by 1, right? So the fatigue is real, but I agree. The rubber stamp that is Vegas they make it so easy. I joke about just showing up, sleeping, flying in from Atlanta. I don't have to open my eyes until I get in the hotel because everything's on autopilot, right? I'm just like, zzz, 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 and I'm at the hotel, and all of a sudden, poof, then I'm ready to go. So, tell us more about that. I mean, why is Vegas still one of the number one places we keep having these conventions?
I mean, I'd love your guys' take too, because at the same time, I'm so excited to be in Huntington Beach for AIM. I'm so excited to, be in Orlando for the Z conference, one of my favorite industry customer operator events of the year. I think for me, being a West Coast guy, but leading a national team, finding a place that we can all get relatively with a direct flight is hard. And I always think about number of nights away from my family still as an operator, but also a father and a husband first. And the fact that for most of us, it's one flight in, 15 minutes or less to get into our resort or hotel, whatever you want to call them. And then you can kind of get in, crush, and get out. I mean, I miss oxygen. Sometimes the fresh air is missed. But if I'm being honest, I feel like it does get the job done. As long as you're comfortable with the venue not being your secret sauce. But we do see some conferences like Multifamily Social Media Summit that's recently rebranded to the Strategic Marketing Summit, where it's good content, it's good procurement of people, but they're in wine country, which makes that place really special. So I just think for Vegas, you lose the value of the venue, but you do get the easy button, which I do think works.
Sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Just in the sense of when you start going to some place, multiple times, even if they're different conferences, even if they're different things, there's something that I think if you travel frequently, you don't think about this because you start to learn how to travel.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people, new salespeople, new, leadership that is stepping into these roles. And one of the things, some people get very anxious when they travel. So something that is nice about Vegas I do not like it. But something that is nice is a lot of it, like Eric, you were saying, it's very easy. You don't have to, you could easily get a cab. It's easy to get to the places. It's easy. You're kind of contained in one area. And even if you're not getting oxygen, for some people, that's helpful because it's all kind of one spot.
The hardest thing for me about this conference specifically is I was having like, I don't even know what the word is, but I felt like I was just here, right? Because we were all just at OpTech in late November, same venue, a lot of the same people. And that was the piece that, I do think that being mindful of the circuit and like reading the room to make sure that there is at least some differentiation. Because if I have to eat at Wolfgang Puck one more time, I'm going to be bummed. I'm going to be like,
I don't want to hear the words whiskey down ever again. I'm done with those two words.
Like, why do you keep going to whiskey down? It's like, why keep having to go there?
Yes, that's a very good point. Very good point.
Yeah, try searching your emails for invite plus whiskey down, and you'll probably have 1,000 emails. Yeah.
I will say something that they did differently, because this is only my second time at RETCON, but not at the MGM. But they moved where the traditional expo hall has been for OpTech, for RETCON in the past, for other events, and they brought it inside, so it's kind of part of the flow of everything. And they took that feedback from last year and then kind of made change. So I think that when you're going to these conferences, right, you get the little surveys and you fill them out, and then nothing actually changes.
For sure.
You're less likely to, one, engage in that survey, because it's like, what's the point? But then also maybe you stop spending dollars there, whether you're presenting, whether you're exhibiting, whatever. But if people aren't taking into what you need as a company, as an organization, then I think that's something that there's a lot of places that people can go. There's a lot of conferences that are happening, and you can't do them all.
And I think we all have to empathize with vendors. Like when a vendor goes, sure, they're wanting to participate in industry discussion. Sure, they're wanting to play a role in participation and support and all the things. But the math does have to math for a vendor. And if you're going to spend the money for any type of booth, whether it's one of the startup ecosystem small pillars or the 10 by 10s up, that was a big miss of OpTech, because a lot of us couldn't even find it. Whereas here it was easy to find. I spent, a couple hours on the expo floor. And I think that, at least making it easy to get to is valuable for both sides of the attendees.
Yeah.
Could we go off script a little bit? Mike, I'm going to hand you this direction, hand you a magic wand. What would, if you were responsible for, creating something like this, what would the perfect convention look like in your mind that benefits obviously both the attendees, the suppliers, and sponsors?
Yeah, three things, like riffing, because I'm obviously not prepared for that question, but there's like three things that I think about all the time. There's power and distribution, right? But the riches are in the niches. And so for me, know your ICP. Every conference cannot be for everybody. And I think that is like point number one, is I would find more narrow reasons to get people together to talk about marketing or leasing or renewal life cycles, which is a huge opportunity for both technology and operators to partner together while we're seeing expenses outpace revenue and rent growth still not do what it needs to do for, industry purposes. But I would really make sure that I'm not just saying tech conference. I would really try to get focused and surgical. I'd rather have 500 raving fans than 5,000 people attending with 500 leaving feeling excited. So that would be the first thing I would do. The second thing is open up your eyes. Everyone's annoyed at the balance of how suppliers pester operators and how operators complain about the feedback loop. But vendors are also fatigued because prices are going up and value is going down, y'all. So I would make it really easy for a vendor to get value and for a customer to get value. I would survey every single attendee, and it would be required that they are going to select at least 3 categories or 5 companies that they either work with or are interested in meeting with new, because it is a reason customers go. And I would make it much easier to create magic and discussion so that we break the chain and cycle of all of this assault that happens with email and cold calls. And I'm guilty. I send them all the time to make sure that both of us feel like we're getting what we need out of it, and we're also sleeping a little bit better. Let's celebrate World Sleep Day today and like take action on that. And I think the third thing would be I would do a lot more with the content. Like imagine a world where every single session is recorded and presenters get spliced short form content, a well-written blog post, and long form they can upload to their websites. That's like an extra $500 and you got it done for the whole show. And all of a sudden there's a personal brand, a company brand value that both sides of our industry give a dang about. We all have brands that we want to build. So that I would just make sure that content doesn't get lost, because I want to go to the sessions. I rarely do because I'm selling. And so for me, I would just make it a point to have a longer tail of that content.
Love it. Not too bad of three points there, and especially that last one, right? Just taking the content, capturing it, and then allowing the repurpose of it, making it valuable for everyone, all the attendees, the person who actually spoke, right? Because say you're trying to get another speaking gig, and they'll say, well, show us your recent gig that you did. Well, I don't have the video. It was at a NAA event, or was at a private regional event. I just don't have it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, candidly, I'm sure you guys wrestle with this too, because you've got world-class distribution with the different media networks you're a part of. I don't get much value out of speaking at conferences. So I typically say no when I'm asked. And I don't submit anymore because I have way better distribution on my own.
Yep.
And so I think I would ask, like, let me use my distribution to help you, but also let's make sure that these great conversations that we're prepping for, I mean, hours of prep if it's done right, isn't getting lost in the dungeon of MGM Grand. Let's carry that thing forward. And that's a multiplier for everyone.
Yeah. I really think it has to do with what you said about the niche or niche. Like if you're going to do a big show, if you're going to do a big thing, then you have to be the one to figure out how to connect the people that need connected. Like if you're selling to marketing people most of the time, like primarily, wouldn't it be great if you were easily put in a room with them, either at lunch or in the right sessions or where the expo is or whatever, so that you're actually talking to people? Because it's really hard, right? If you're doing, especially if you're new and you don't know the industry, but it's really hard if you come into somebody and you're spending like, the first 10 hours only talking to CTOs and like developers, because that's who you run into at the happy hour. And so it's really hard to make it more of a real conversation, real networking, and help align the people that need to be in the room together.
Totally. I mean, I'm really insecure because I don't know if it's pronounced niche or niche. I'm pretty good with niche. But I mean, I think a lot about like niching down.
It rhymes with riches though, which I like. So I got it. You were fine. I'm just covering my bases too, Mike. Don't worry.
but I will say, in that context, I would be so much happier if I could spend twice as much money and get consistent levels of value each year and go to conferences where people are there that want to learn from companies like ours, vice versa, that were smaller. Because, a lot of the like hamster wheeling that we get stuck on is the 3-4 day slog, finding value that's really hard versus, Justin, to your point, give me 90 minutes with a bunch of marketers and give me 10 people that my team can follow up with at a 30 or 40% conversion rate. Game over. I'll see you again next month for the next market event. And I just think that's like the opportunity. Let's keep doing the big ones, but let's start to see some of these big ones like get a little bit more focused.
Yeah. Break them apart, maybe, right? I mean, create more long tail value over time, even, and then just have that one big event, whenever you have your annual event.
So good info, good insight. What are the things that are like that came out of this that are like, this is a good good takeaway, whether it's in practice or in product or in, some other kind of thought?
I think, this is like funny. I don't travel with business cards anymore, even though I should. I do think the conferences that make it easy to get contact from each other. Otherwise, we're also like awkward, like with our phones or trying to make them kiss or do whatever you're supposed to do. RETCON had that like really dialed in. It was the first time that technology's actually worked for me, where you could tap badges or you could scan QR codes with the app. I've got 30 plus contacts that my team's following up with from a happy hour, a dinner, and a couple sit-down meetings. And I think making it easy for everyone to actually get value out of a 5 to 10 minute conversation versus saying yes to an hour-long meal at Wolfgang, that to me is a value that RETCON did well, that I think I'd like to see all conferences be better about having one version of the truth when it comes to contact capture and making follow-up easier, less painful, and less annoying. And so whether it's sticking with the contact hardware component, a QR code, I just think having that be clear from the onset drove a lot of just ease and less stress for our team, at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, shout out to the RETCON crew for successfully another event. I want to say this is their 6th year, maybe something like that.
Yeah, 2020 was the first, so yeah.
There we
Fort
go.
Lauderdale.
My Fort Lauderdale's up next. That's right. So, funny enough, I heard from James that even though most people said Vegas, I think it was just the sentiment said, please no more Vegas. So they listened. My hope is that they at least go back and forth, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. It's some level of in between there. I think that would be fair and appropriate.
That's what most conferences should do, honestly, because even though it's direct flights, right? You're switching time zones if you're going from one to the other. So to share that load, you're gonna get more people on one side or the other depending on where it is. So it's helpful to the industry to kind of switch that.
We see it with OpTech, we see it with NAA. I think it's great. You get diversity each year with attendees, which makes it good for us to go for different reasons versus the sea of sameness that we are feeling in Vegas, where the same people keep coming together.
Yeah. Good point.
All right. Well, I got one last question for Mike. If you didn't have to do it in Las Vegas, what's your favorite city? Where would you host your event?
I mean, obviously we had like a big tragedy back in whatever it was, 22 or 23 in San Diego. I think San Diego and Chicago are both like incredible venues for conferencing. They're walkable, they're inspiring, they're incredible air, like there's water. Those are two to me that don't get boring, that feel inspiring from a city perspective. I think San Diego has a little bit more spice downtown with just like safety, whereas I think Chicago, if you can do it right, I mean, I've had some incredible big and small events in Chicago, and I bias West Coast just because I live in Bend, Oregon. Otherwise, I honestly don't mind Miami at all. I've been to a couple great conferences in Miami, but that is painful as heck for me to get to.
Oh yeah, that's cross country for you. Well, thank you.
Guys, appreciate
you, Mike. Yep.
Yeah. Take care, Mike. Bye.
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 Jennifer Carter here for the Multifamily Media Network.
I'm Mike Brewer.
Yeah, we got in last night. Very excited to be here, ready to kick off an amazing conference. And we will first see most people at the reception today. Pretty intuitive. Yes, I think it's great. What I'm actually most excited about is that the exhibit hall is not in a separate building here at the MGM's casino. So very excited to be in a closer room.
I'd say the same for that on the management side, embrace the new technology.
Yeah.
Just because we've done it this way all along doesn't mean we can't change the thing.
Yeah, I would quickly add, I mean, this is a career. There's no industry that's recession proof, but housing can really navigate the waters a lot better than a lot of other industries, and you're never going to get bored.
Well, our company, Visual Access, what we do is we have a product, a retrofit product for legacy intercoms. It's not rip and replace. It's pretty much a little gadget the size of a credit card. Fits in any intercom, legacy intercom. And it literally gives, video access, remote access, one-time passcodes.
That's always fun for a good cocktail late at night after all the other events. And we'll be exhibiting. So, I mean, even though, we're, I'd say larger in scale and scope in the space, there's a lot of people still don't know we exist. So just meeting new customers is always a good thing, right? The day you think you can't get a new customer, you better get out of this business. So we're here just driving to find new customers and thank the ones that use us.
I think the first time I came was in 2024. And I think that's when we were really starting to see like this little real estate tech boom. And then you factor in AI. So obviously now we are ready for that next phase. We're piloting several solutions, implementing different things. A lot of things are changing. I think it's great to learn what to keep up with, what we're doing right, what we could do better.
I was invited by the Multifamily Media Network, and so that was my first time coming. So I was excited to go to a new conference and see what they did differently. How about you?
Yeah, I'm we're actually exhibiting. Cadence has a table right out front in the L&D space, I guess it's called. And we're really excited to get everyone networking and learn about Run Club and everything that we have to offer.
So it really depends on where they sit, but most of the time people just want to give hugs.
Right.
And want to say, hey, I see you, I love you, you are welcome here, I have a friend. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for making me feel welcome here, because at events like this, like at RETCON or at OpTech or at AIM, it's overwhelming with the Justins, everyone knowing Justin, but the people who are first and new here, they're kind of like, where can I go stand? And so you come find Gunner now.
So that's just a little taste of some of the content that we captured at RETCON. You'll be seeing more of that dropping online from Multifamily Media Network. We have some interviews, some other kinds of capture of information. Some articles are going to be coming out, so a lot of recaps.
Yes, I was holed up in the interview room for what felt like half of RETCON. No thanks to the lovely Jennifer Carter for filling our dance card, so to speak.
Yes. All right, let's do a few bullet points here. We'll be kind of quick because we're getting a lot done. Some industry highlights. There was still, even with all the conferences this week, there's a lot going on in the industry. Don Beveridge's 20 for 20 recently came out, and there was a lot of coverage of it. Popped up in a few different places this week. Again, big theme out of that is around AI.
All right, and the Michelson Pet Inclusive Housing Initiative has a deadline on March 27th. If you want to submit and win, what are they going to win,
Yes.
Justin?
They could win a Pet and Housing Award. So they got the 2026 Pet and Housing Awards. You could be nominated for those in the housing apartment industry that are pro-pet and what they do, what companies, properties, people. Make sure to check them out and nominate someone.
Some might say you could become top dog.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, some people might. Some people might.
Amuse
All
myself.
right. No, that was good. That was good. All right. CRE Daily shared a nice infographic. You know I like an infographic. That data came from Rent Cafe, and it showed some top cities to watch in 2026 that are going to be very competitive. There's a change in where they were last year. And, Atlanta's on the list in the top 5. That's not necessarily surprising, but I will say Baltimore and Cincy have pretty big jumps and changes. So they're on the list. Make sure to check all that data out.
Awesome. And last but not least
is Emercy Martinez was one of many people that talked about regional managers this week. She specifically called out the pressure that regional managers are under. Lisa Trojan also posted about this recently, just saying that they have to report to everyone and the litany of things that they have to do. And there was even some regional managers sharing some of their positives and negatives of their job, lessons learned. So that kind of definitely trended this week online.
Well, lovely.
And that's what we got.
That's how it. Well, there is one more thing. We do have a moment of wonder, and it's brought to you by Predict AP. I'm going to give you a little bit of play-by-play here. I am currently sparring, if you will, and trying to do it unsuccessfully and getting taken down to the mat. We were at Cinco, Las Vegas.
I'm going to need copies of this, please.
Yes, and then little by little, he proceeds to put me into a position in which I am unable to use most of my body parts until he gets me to a point where I'm having difficulty breathing.
Could you give a little
Right.
context about what this is? Just like how this
This is
came about?
yeah, sure. So Predict AD put together the Rent Rollers, which is a group of everyone in the industry is invited, but we get together and practice Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So that was my first time doing it, and I had a chance to roll around a world champion Brazilian jiu-jitsu winner. Yeah.
Yes. This is the brainchild of David Stifter, who is the founder and CEO. We actually got a chance to interview him, so you look for his content coming from Multifamily Media Network. But thanks for sharing that video. Now you definitely need to get some rest. You've been busy this week, Eric.
100%. It is nice to breathe fresh oxygen in this secret city that I'm in, but I wish you all a wonderful weekend again, and we'll see you all next week.